We'll call this meeting to order. Welcome. Please join us with a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, additions to the agenda.
Madam Chair, I'd like to talk briefly about the solar project and the battery project that's on VY property.
Okay. Is there anything else? Okay, we'll put that down under new business, okay? Okay, the only remark I have to say is I think our highway crew has been doing an exemplary job. And I feel sorry for them being out in this weather, but it's them and not me. Okay, open public comment for items not on the agenda. Okay. Minute approval from February 4th, 2025.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes of February 4th, 2025 as written.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, Jeff?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Motion carries. Warrant?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve payment of the following warrant. 16T accounts payable, $54,498.28. 5S payroll, $12,187.79. And 6S payroll, $11,084.50.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, Jim? Jim?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Motion carries. Farmland protection? We will need to go into executive session on this. It will be number 1.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for negotiating or securing real estate purchases or lease options. It's from VSA 313 sub A2.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Jim?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll let you guys know when we're.
Thank you.
Yeah. We went into executive session at 6:33, came out at 6:41, and no action was taken.
I'd like to move that $1,625 coming from the Vernon Farmland Protection Fund go towards paying for the appraisal.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, Jeff? Jim?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And we're gonna have fun tonight. Okay, now we move on to solar project and battery project.
Okay, and let's do the solar array project. We warned and discussed at the meeting, and we had a pretty good crowd. We had a
Say
butter.
what meeting? Could you say what meeting?
Oh, at the last planning commission meeting on the 12th. And we had an abutter from 142 side and an abutter from the Governor Hunt side. And some interesting things came out at that meeting, but we didn't have participation from either facility, either the people that were doing the project or from hydro. And so we had questions that arose that we didn't have answers to. So we decided to chair it, and the planning commission asked me to present to the select board that that happened, and that our consensus right now was relatively negative regarding that because of the 4 issues that we have, 5-ish, that are up in the air. And so we're waiting for a response from Great River Hydro and Aegis.
Now, are you ready to respond, or are you gonna respond? Should they respond to you first?
I don't mind if they do it here, if the select board doesn't, because the planning commission, of course, bows to the select board in their decision on that.
Board, you wish to hear from our Great River Hydro folks?
Sure.
Okay. Gentlemen?
So hi there, my name is Craig Martin. I'm with Great River Hydro. I'm responsible for project development. And I'm Brandon Kibbe, Vice President of External Affairs with Great River Hydro. So we apologize for our lack of participation at the planning board meeting. There were a number of us that tried dialing in, and we tried dialing in via the information that was available through the Town of Vernon website, and we were unsuccessful. We tried for about 45 minutes to get on. None of us had a direct line though, unfortunately, to Mr. Pinkerton. Sorry about that. We remedied that since then. I do believe there's a couple of folks from Aegis online virtually who may also wish to provide some response, and maybe I would defer to them first to see if they can respond to your issues, and anything that they are unable to respond to, we'll do our best to respond to it here now.
Jim, what are your issues?
Okay, I wanna break it up into 4 major issues. One is on the Great River Hydro side, on the Governor Hunt House side. The abutter there requests that instead of an 8-foot fence, you go to a 10-foot fence, so he doesn't have to look out the window and stare at the top of the arrays. That was one item. And when that was brought up earlier, the consensus was, the response from Aegis and Great River Hydro was, that's a problem. We 8-foot fence, yeah, is no problem, but 10-foot fence, there's problems with that, without going into specifics. So we'd like to resolve that. 2, the area is on the town plan. It's marked as an area that's a potential development of solar projects with a possible issue. And one of the possible issues is that it's prime agricultural land. Now, there's some stories on that that I brought up, and I really want to get into them. Only take a second. That property's been owned by Great River Hydro for 60-odd years. The farming it originally was housing for the dam construction, and then later for the management of the dam. Since then, Great River Hydro has allowed farm millers specifically to come on there and grow corn without a lease, without payment going either way. They've been pretty gracious about that, and they allowed it. So it's see how it's iffy like that? Granted, it's prime ag land, but it was housing land originally, and it's been owned by this company for all of those years. And so I think that goes iffy really, really fast. But I'd like Great River Hydro to talk to that, and Aegis if they're up to it. Part 2, the buffer. Oh, that starts with a R. There's a couple things on that too. There seems to be a disagreement between our Conservation Commission and the state on where a buffer starts, whether or not it starts at the edge of the bank or at the top of this gully that the bank's down in.
You mean riparian buffer?
The riparian buffer, correct. Thank you. And my understanding with a phone call from Aegis was that they're gonna meet with A&R, or have, I don't know if that's taken place yet or not. It's close to whether it was gonna be before this meeting or after. But they're meeting with A&R specifically to talk about that among other issues. So we'd like to resolve that if they've gone any place with that. The person that, Shelley, who has a dwelling on the 142 side, is when the team went around and did a site visit, they said they would plant trees and such to block the view of the array on her property, and that they would write that up. And that hasn't happened. I understand that's still in negotiation. I'd like to see whether or not we have an actual commitment for that, or it's just, we'll think about it. It wasn't clear on what that was. Again, these issues could have been resolved really easy if you guys were there. And finally, and this is a little more tricky because it doesn't specifically go into the normal development of solar arrays, but we have dealing with Great River Hydro every year regarding the taxes that Great River Hydro pays. And as luck would have it, we had one person at the meeting who has been in those negotiations, and he said that typically the negotiations ran for months where the taxes weren't paid, and they settled on the total value, a few cents one way or the other. He said one was a nickel after they negotiated that. So we said how it was brought up was, why would we want to do business with a company that every year it costs us thousands of dollars in legal fees to get their taxes that we think they should pay there? So we're just adding some more to a already burdensome legal issue.
What's gonna be any different about this?
Yeah.
We're gonna be having a lawsuit over this too,
Yep.
in addition to the dam.
There's one piece to that I can talk to, and they'll get the rest of it. The state has some pretty rigid taxing structures for solar arrays. They tax based on the output of the array. It's 25 cents per kilowatt hour, so for a 4.2 megawatt array, that's a pretty good chunk of change. And that's state, so that wouldn't be a fight that we had to negotiate. But we're expecting that it's just gonna add to the financial woes every time we go into. Anyway, that's questions, comments.
Well, if you want to start there on the property taxes,
Yeah.
we can. It's a pretty easy one actually to answer, because you're right. It is very formulaic. The value, the state sets up property tax based on the characteristics of the facility that's built, and so they have a program that you enter what the facility bits are. It produces a value. That value, we can't argue it, you can't argue it, value is what the value is, and it sets the value for the system. And that's set for 25 years. So it's very formulaic. And on the system itself, it's exempt from statewide education tax. The system instead pays what they call a utility capacity tax. That's it's based on, like Jim was saying, kilowatt hours of the system times a set rate. So that's all set. So the only thing that's remaining is the underlying land value of the town. Now, the town taxes other corporate owned land elsewhere in the town on a very straightforward basis. And that's how that would be, and it's a very minor component of the overall value of the facility. So we don't particularly see there's gonna be any issue around the property taxes because the vast majority of the value is all captured under this under this very formulaic process. So, it solves all of that problem that you were describing before about other property tax matters in town.
So essentially you're saying that there shouldn't be a fight over property taxes?
We don't expect
like we do with the dam every year.
Yeah, we don't expect that.
What all the town is gonna be able to tax is the value of the land.
So no, the town will collect the local taxes based on the valuation of the facility as well, but based on the valuation that's by this formula. The
Right,
state
the
sets the
set-
formula.
The set
Town
value,
Right.
okay.
So I would say it's, based on my calculations, it's over 90% of the total value of the site is in the solar facility itself. So,
All right.
All right,
just going in sort of reverse chronological order.
Any
uh,
other questions maybe we should ask if Aegis is able to?
I was just simply going to say on Shelley's property, we are drafting an agreement, and so we are in agreement to do everything that we said we were going to do in terms of the plantings over there. It's just a matter of getting the paper put together, so there are lawyers working on that, but we fully intend on doing that.
your contentions, you don't have any issues with that?
No issues with it at all. And what we talked about on site was partial screening fencing because it's an area where they have their septic system, and then screening plantings. So it's just a matter of putting that in writing in a way that'll hold up.
And that was our proposal to start with, and we're fully intending to follow through on that.
Yep. Continuing in reverse chronological order, I think I'm going to let Aegis respond to the A&R issue, the fence and the fencing issue. Go ahead, Leah.
Brandon, hi everyone. I'm Leah Bellis at Aegis Renewable Energy. I'll do my best to address the issues that did come up. Nils Bain did inform both Aaron and I of them. So just regarding the wetland buffer, and the biggest concern with A&R that we are working through right now, the quote unquote top of the bank is planning to be determined on February 26th when our civil engineers are going to meet on site with them. And then based on how we determine where we're going to measure the top of the bank from and accurately design our system, there will be a couple more updates on that front. And Aaron, you can chime in too if you have anything else.
Yeah, that seemed to be we're basically just waiting to meet on site with A&R to figure out the best path forward with that.
Mm-hmm. But that is scheduled, and I will make note to give an update as soon as we hear from the Stantec team that's assisting on the project.
Would you have an issue with our Conservation Commission doing that walk around when A&R hits?
I don't believe that there would be any issue to that, and we can connect the Conservation Committee with the person who is meeting on site with A&R on the 26th.
Good.
Do you want to touch on the fencing matter, Leah? The stockade fence?
Yeah, I'll try my best here. So from what I know, since the meeting on the 12th, Nils sent some reference photos of the fence that we installed on a recent project here in Vermont to serve as a reference for the neighbor. I'm not sure if that made it all the way to the neighbor and they've been able to review it and have additional comments. But we will continue to work through that. I'm not entirely certain if, 10-foot is an absolute no to the project. I think Aegis would like to work with the town and everyone to see what we can do to work with everyone and their needs. So I think we're kind of waiting to see the outcome of what that landowner and that neighbor thinks of a fence that we have already previously installed.
So I can
And
I can provide a little bit of context as well. So we recently just finished a smaller 150 kilowatt project for the town of Colchester in a very visible location on Route 15 out by Camp Johnson. Part of the aesthetic mitigation for that project was an 8-foot tall vinyl fence, stockade fence, effectively made out of synthetic materials, not cedar or anything. Included in the aesthetic mitigation was also a berm and planting system in front of the fence, which provides additional visual mitigation to the fence itself. And over a period of 5 years, 5-10 year timeline, those plantings on the berms will grow up tall enough to effectively obscure any modules that are visible above the top of the fence line. So that might be an option here as well. A small berm with some plantings on top of it that will eventually grow up and basically shade or will effectively visually mitigate the neighbor's view of the project from their house.
The only thing that I still have on my list is that that could technically be referred to as prime agricultural land. And we have a couple of places in our town plan where we say it is not a good practice to put a solar array on prime ag land. How do you address that?
If I can start, actually, Leah and Aaron, just quickly to your earlier point about this being power company property. The land has actually been owned in power company hands since 1907, when they started construction of the facility, and in fact they built a railroad siding that went across the north end of that field all the way into the station. That's where they got all the heavy pieces of equipment for the station, came in via that railroad siding. Jim's earlier comment about there being housing located on the property, there was housing located along the Governor Hunt frontage there. And in fact, there was a road that went right down the middle of that agricultural field, and at the 142 end of that agricultural field, all the way through the 80s, was a very large series of warehouses, fenced area, storage, facilities, et cetera, et cetera. So it was used as power company property for housing, laydown, maintenance, all kinds of things over the years. And in fact, in more recent years, a couple of times they've had to dredge behind the dam. They've actually spread the dredgings over that field.
Which I don't think that's a net positive.
It's probably not a net positive to the agricultural value.
Yeah.
So
increasing the prime value of the soils by putting a bunch of dredged
right.
stuff on them.
Right. So it has a history of pretty intense use and I would characterize it as industrial energy purposes for a very long time. So though the soils may have been mapped as prime agricultural soils, certainly it has been used in another way for a very long time, and owned, and to your point earlier, taxed as power company property for a very long time.
So one more comment on the farmland. It's kind of ironic, 1907 when the dam was constructed, it flooded hundreds of acres of prime farmland. And so I don't think I would really go along with, well, we've owned it and had some houses on it. And I mean, the dam, the people that originally constructed it, they had the benefit or whatever back in the days when there weren't any public hearings. And people kind of had to keep their mouth shut 120 years ago. So anyways, I just find it a little ironic that we're talking about farmland again with the idea that a lot of acres were flooded.
Yep.
It's true, it's true.
Yeah,
And the power company did acquire those farms to do that.
yeah, in order to send power south to southern New England, right?
But they did remunerate those owners for that
Yeah.
property.
Oh, yeah, I'm not saying the eminent domain that they stole land, I'm just
Yeah.
saying the principle. It's ironic that
Well, I can say a couple of things to that. Just in today's day and age, right?
Right.
Is we actually have a power purchase agreement with Green Mountain Power for power coming off of all of our facilities now, and so at the height of that power purchase agreement, which will last 30 years, a full 40%, just about 40% of our total output will be repatriated into Vermont. So it's no longer the case that all of our power just automatically flows south. We actually deliver a big chunk of that power over the next 30 years directly to Vermont.
Yeah.
And our intention for this project in particular is that this power will also be sold in Vermont as
stay
well.
close to home.
So this
Yeah,
is
no,
about,
I understand today things are different.
Yeah.
I just think it's a little funny, the dam was constructed to send power south and didn't really benefit Vermont, 120 years ago.
well, yeah, I mean, that's
Well, jobs.
jobs, property taxes,
Yeah.
lots of different, ways that it directly impacted Vermont in a positive way, I would say. And like I say, today, we're delivering all that renewable energy directly here to Vermont.
Anything else?
No, I'm happy to claim.
Very good. We like that.
I didn't know clams were happy.
Oh, believe me, yeah.
All right.
The way we left the planning commission was if these issues got resolved, the planning commission didn't have a problem with the issue, suggesting the issue of a certificate of public good to the select board. So if the select board's happy with the resolution of those 4 issues, then I think we should consider the certificate of a public good.
I think the planning commission should send us a notification of that.
I will schedule a emergency meeting with the planning commission.
Anything else, folks?
So is this an issue that, at our upcoming town meeting, would it be an issue that could be addressed by more folks publicly, or?
We could under any other business to come before said meeting. No. It's not binding, but it tells us where to go.
Well, I guess I'd like to hear potential
Yeah,
opinions of other townspeople when the town meeting's coming right up.
right. It's that perfect timing. We should let Tim know that. I can spell. Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming. And you too, Zoom.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, utility assessor agreement. We have it in front of us.
How timely.
I know.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Have a
Cindy.
good night.
Thank you. Shelley, bring us up to date.
All right, so this was presented at the last meeting and I had just updated it, made the necessary changes and adjustments, to information, contacts and such.
Yeah, it's mostly getting the contacts in there, is that
Yeah,
it?
so a little bit of a shift. So everything's updated and ready for signature. Ready for approval and signature.
What is your pleasure, folks?
Well, I'm not gonna make the motion, as far as a comment, this is appropriate timing after our last guess. This is what we have to pay in order to fight with Great River Hydro every year.
And I don't believe there's any changes to this. And we
So,
did deep
I don't know if it's
discount.
all right if I can read the appraisal rate schedule, so we have no idea how many hours.
And I can include it in the minutes as well. I can attach it.
Yeah, I mean, principal engineers and senior appraisers get $400 an hour, including court testimony and deposition attendance. Research engineers and associates and appraisers get $325 an hour. Technical personnel, $250 an hour. Clerical personnel, $150 an hour. This is quite a bit of money, but this is something that the town has to do. Unfortunately. So we have to do this, regardless of the cost, just because we're putting us down in this position.
And I thought that the state was gonna start using these people as well.
I don't know. I think they were going to have their own people.
The state is.
Which is not going to bode well for a lot of towns if that's the case.
Do we have a motion, folks? Do we have a choice?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that we sign the contract with Sanssouci Associates to provide updated assessment and consulting services to the town of Vernon for tax purposes of the utilities owned by Great River Hydro and New England Power.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Motion carries. Do you have any first to say?
Yep.
Is that one?
This is all of us to do, right? I think it was all right.
It's just not standing.
I'll go down the line. So, very first is the rest of that. I want you to hold the first three pages.
Why did you go way down there?
Because, I don't know,
All right,
I don't like being in the middle.
Because she can take care of
Immediate
There's
you.
only two other people
well, we-
that can fill in the rest. Let Sandy have the first line.
Can you borrow your pen? I
Sure
don't
can.
have one that works.
Okay, Municipal Ethics and Conflict of Interest Ordinance.
Okay. So, hi.
Thank you.
So in front of you is the state mandated municipal code of ethics and conflict of interest ordinance that we need to put in place to facilitate their new mandates on municipal ethics and conflict of interest. We're required to have a public meeting. If it's adopted, then it must go into the newspaper in case anybody has an issue with it. And doesn't agree. So, although it is state mandated, so I don't know how we get around it otherwise.
I have a question on the adoption history. Do you want, under number 2, it says which were approved on March 4th, 2025, or should that be February?
Oh, February? Oh, adopted, I have adopted on the 18th of February.
Okay.
That's if you choose to adopt it. Yeah, the first meeting was held on the 4th. Yeah, you have to document everything for the state.
Shelley,
Yes.
does the state feel that there's a problem with municipal ethics?
They have had issues
Okay.
in the bigger cities.
Yeah, because I'm just kind of curious what
People,
was the impetus to send this out to every town?
yes, they had some people in some of the bigger cities that were spending money on lunches and parties and other miscellaneous things that money should not have been appropriated for,
No, for town purposes.
not for town purposes. And so that's what sparked.
So in general, that would be the most common violation of this code of ethics.
That
Is
would be-
misspent town funding.
One of many, and yes, making agreements with friends and family for services
Conflicts of interest,
for the town projects. And so that's the second issue. Among others, I'm sure there probably were more, but those are the two main issues that I'm aware of. They were pretty much brought up in
I
meetings.
just want to know that this was trying to solve an existing problem and not a solution looking for a problem.
It's a problem, not everywhere, but it is a problem in some places, and so we're gonna have the burden of not having to put this in place, unfortunately.
Do we have to designate a designated compliant recipient before we approve this?
So that would likely also be the liaison to the state. I think it's probably gonna be the same person. I think I know who that person more than likely would be. But I think there needs to be a designated liaison and a designated complaint recipient.
And is there a complaint form for people?
Yes,
There is, okay.
yes, I have all of that information, but I don't want to put the cart before the horse. So once this is done, I will be sending out the link to all staff, boards, committees, commissions to complete the training and put everything out on the website to make folks aware that this exists and that this is put in place. And if they have any complaints, then it needs to be brought to our attention in writing.
One of the things that I think I missed on there, in going over the personnel policy, they make a differentiation between elected and appointed people. Is there any differentiation in this? It's everybody.
It's everybody,
All right. that's
starting
what I
from the
thought.
top, working down.
Yeah, because this list is,
It's pretty
some of those
comprehensive.
are
Yep.
appointed.
I think everyone would benefit from the training. It's very brief and minimal. I think for some people, it's just a refresher, a reminder.
Yeah, no, I agree that even the appointed should follow this.
Absolutely. Everybody should take the training.
Otherwise you can feel, well, I was appointed to select board, I don't have to follow this.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
That's not
Everybody.
right.
And I also have a spreadsheet to keep track of who's taken the training and who hasn't. So then I'll be policing everybody on that end of it, unfortunately.
You'd be good at it.
Yeah, because when you depend on committees or commissions to bring information to us, it needs to be the honest, complete information without conflict of interest behind it.
Training is, it's pretty basic. I think it's like 6 or 8 questions, and it's on demand through the state website. So it's pretty simple.
So is this considered like the public hearing tonight?
Mhm.
Yeah. So we're to step 2.
That would be item 2.
Step 2. Yeah, this is what was laid out by the state then.
It's pretty much a kit, and it just needs to be adapted
Yeah.
for the town. We just need to go in and change everything. It's pretty basic, pretty boilerplate.
So the minutes could be approved at our reorganization meeting.
Or I can change that if you don't want to cover that at that meeting. I can change that date. I just
What do you
plugged it
think,
into, to just work it into,
Yeah.
into this, but I can, that's subject to change. Whatever the pleasure of the board is, I can change that.
And that would be at the 4th.
Yeah,
Are we gonna have a lot of stuff going on?
just the reorganization,
The reorganization.
That new people,
putting people to places that have, things that have to be done
yeah.
for the, which used to be done 2 weeks later.
Do we need a motion to?
Motion to approve and enact this.
What about the March 4th date? You know, to implement?
You can,
Do we need to address that in the motion?
no, we just need to let Shelley know what to put in there for date.
Yeah, so it would be a motion to adopt the ordinance.
All right. Try it. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the Town of Vernon Code of Ethics Investigation and Enforcement Ordinance as written.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, Jeff? Jim?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Aye, the motion carries.
The issue is appointing somebody as the liaison to the state and the complaint recipient.
Is that something it comes under your purview?
It can be. It can be, but ultimately, after everything's looked into, it's up to the board to, to have a say in it if there's any concern. Basically comes down to the board to make the last determination on the information.
So what is your pleasure, folks?
I think that,
Laughing. It's not funny.
where is that section? I keep losing it.
I don't know, I'd like to note that Brandon's not here at this meeting, and, just a thought.
He's gonna get voluntold.
Oh, to Jim.
So this is gonna be a long-term
Yeah, it
appointment.
is.
Yeah.
So it should be appointed to a position, not an individual person.
Yes.
Good point,
So
good point.
either the chair or town administrator would be permanent positions, so you don't have to vote somebody new in every year.
Right.
That's good.
Maybe vote the position or.
I also feel like the town administrator is more of a neutral position on this and wouldn't really have any decision-making power. So it just seems like that should be the person receiving,
It's
the
less likely
complaints
to
and-
be a conflict of interest.
and that the select board would then be the ones deciding.
Would you like to put that into a motion?
No. I keep losing that spot in here where it says to designate somebody.
Under
No, under
3A.
What's that?
Was it under 3A? Or are you
Four.
looking under the whole process?
What's that, 3?
Designated complaint recipient.
Oh. That's a select board body. Oh, jeez.
Mm-hmm. Quasi judicial.
It still is like, well, where does it actually go to start the process? You know?
Start with the administrator,
I-
and then she brings it to the board if she has a question.
I do too. So is that section we need to clarify then? To make,
I think it's pretty clear under A that it needs to be either the town administrator or a select board member.
yeah,
It's pretty clear. But ultimately, when it comes down to it and it's an issue and it needs to be looked in further, it is gonna be, just gonna be the select board.
all right, so the way it reads is
The
okay here.
decision. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
from the state.
So,
That's their wording.
I don't think we really need to designate anybody, do we?
You need to vote to designate who it's gonna be.
That you can be,
Yeah.
Okay.
Because all of this is gonna have to be put out on the website as well.
so then you just need a motion for that, because we already moved about the
Mhm.
ordinance.
Right.
Madam Chair, I move that we make the town administrator our designated complaint recipient for the Code of Ethics investigation and enforcement ordinance.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, Jeff?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
And aye. Thank you very much. Okay, town admin report.
Very short. The wheelchair lift is being installed. It will be completed tomorrow. The annual reports were delivered today. I brought everybody a copy. And I will be sending a broadcast email this week to all staff, board members, commissions, committee members, etc., to complete the municipal ethics and conflict of interest training, and I will be tracking that. And that's all I have.
And it'll include trustees, right? Library trustees also.
Yeah. And trustees. You can read that.
They've been forewarned.
Yes. Yes. They will be included.
Thank you.
No problem.
Next meeting will be after the ballots are counted on March 4th. And the reorganization. Yep. Jeff, I can only hope people write your name in a million times. Because we need your brain.
I might
I
have
know.
some cards with his name on it, spelled properly. That hang out.
Well, you can do that right outside the door.
Yeah, yeah.
I appreciate the confidence.
No, we appreciate it
Yes.
for you being here. Okay, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Jeff?
I should have let you have that one.
I think
Okay, we are adjourned.
that emergency.